more time. Welcome to Gear Wizard TV. Fuck it, let's live.
Let's light up indeed, stoners. Welcome to another episode of Gear Wizard TV. As always, I am your host, the Gear Wizard. And with me, as always, is my little buddy, JD.
Hello, hello. Thank you as always for having me back. I feel like it's been a few weeks. I was sick
Yes,
and you were sick and
everybody was sick.
everybody was sick. I got so I had the flu a couple of weeks ago. I do not recommend. First time I've had it in a long time. And I had a cough that was lingering so bad that I went back to the doctor yesterday and they gave me a steroid injection right in my butt. And it's helped with the cough, but it also I got about 2 hours of sleep last night. And
Oh no.
yeah, apparently. So I do feel better, but apparently that is a side effect from these steroid injections. Is you might really not sleep for a couple of days. So
Yeah, well, I don't
uh,
need that, but I am on the possibility of steroids soon. So last week, I don't know, I was sick Tuesday. I don't know what it was, but also last week I must have tweaked something and learned that I have I forget the official clinical name for it, but there's a nerve coming out of my cervical spine that is being pinched by one of my discs.
unfortunately, I think I know the name of this. I think it's cervical radiculopathy.
That's the word, yes,
That's the one.
radiculopathy.
Yeah,
And it's definitely
I know it
ridiculous.
all too well. Yeah.
The good news is it explains a lot of weird stuff I've been feeling in my arm for
Mhm.
months.
All the way down to your fingers, right?
That wasn't
Little
really
electrical
painful. It was just
tingles.
annoying. And I
Yeah.
thought, it was how I was holding my phone. But then, thanks to some yoga, I must have stretched a little too stretchy. And there was much pain last week.
See, yoga. It's nothing. No, doesn't lead to anywhere good.
Like I was
Sorry to any yogis out there.
feeling too sedentary. Thought I'd exercise, and I hurt myself. So evidently, being sedentary is the way to go.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say you could hurt yourself by being too sedentary, hurt yourself from moving too much, or just the older we get, the more we realize that something's gotta hurt. It's gotta be something hurting at all times, whether it's
Indeed.
the foot or the back or the neck or you just I don't know. I have new pains.
Do you know
They
what
just sort
helps
of
with
come in.
pain?
I do. What are you smoking tonight?
Marijuana. Except we're not supposed to call it that anymore. Cannabis, weed,
Can I bus?
reefer, whatever you like to call it. What am I smoking? Okay, funny story in a minute. But first, it is some white belt. I know nothing about this strain. I could find no information about this strain. It is very much under the radar. But I'll tell you why I bought it in a minute. I pulled out a little used pipe, the bubbler. I call this one the seahorse because we've got the tentacle here, but I've always thought to me this looks like a hoof. So this is the seahorse.
And yeah, I'm finding nothing about white belt either. The white widow, white runts, no white belt.
It is very tasty though. Very, very tasty indeed.
Does it taste like? Is it a sweet, fruity flavor?
There's a little of that. There's a little of that. There's almost a hoppiness as well. It gives me a little bit of that IPA on the back of my throat.
Okay.
Hoppiness. But there's definitely a little fruit on the exhale. So it's probably got some White Widow in there if I had to guess.
Uh, White Widow, it says, is a balanced hybrid strain combining Brazilian sativa and South Indian indica genetics. Developed in the Netherlands.
It's definitely yummy.
Oh,
It's
hey, that's not
definitely
bad.
yummy. Uh,
Yeah. Any word on the effects yet?
no, I was told it was going to be somewhere in the middle. Uh,
Okay, yeah, that sounds like what I'm reading about White Widow.
but oh yeah, White Widow's definitely in the middle. I love White Widow. Don't see it often, but I know what I say every time I smoke it. Come on, it's a nice.
Or White Widow.
Uh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this story is a very good reason why you should get to know the people that run your dispensaries. Be nice, be friendly, be the kind of person that they want to help out every once in a while. So I wandered into the dispensary with my wife. I wasn't going to buy anything because I have way more weed than I need at the moment. But she was doing some shopping for herself. And lo and behold, the owner wanders out and sees me and goes, "Hey, I have 2/8 left. That's all I have. Trying to get rid of these last 2/8 of white belt from Stone Leaf Cannabis Grower, by the way. These are really good little boutiques grower here in Vermont. I have smoked many, many, many of their fine products. I'll let you have both of them for $70. And that was out the door. That's after tax, everything. Like I didn't need it, but $70 for a quarter out the door. Fuck yeah.
So I did learn after you just said Stone Leaf cannabis growers in Vermont, I learned a little bit more about the white belt, but not much. It just says, by the way, great
One
deal.
sentence.
Um, it says it's got a total THC content of 20% and total cannabinoids of 23%. That's all we know. That's all there is about it.
Yeah, I have no terpenes,
Nope.
but I smoked weed for many decades with no terpenes.
Without even knowing what that word meant, without
Yeah,
ever hearing that word before. Yeah.
weed was weed, and there were two kinds. There was
Indo.
brickweed, and there was sensimilla.
I didn't. That word wasn't. We didn't have that word up north.
You know why? Because by the time you started smoking it, probably everything was sensimilla.
Ah.
Sensimilla is a Spanish word, and it means no seeds or without seeds.
Oh no, he had the brickweed with the seed. I mean,
Oh,
I remember. Yeah, no, I remember spending much time picking seeds out because every once in a while you would miss one and it would like pop and it just wasn't the best. Give you a headache.
nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, nasty. But yeah, that was
I
our
think.
the kids nowadays say it's something is fire. A few
Yeah.
years ago, there was top shelf weed, there was chronic, there was primo, dro was my brother-in-law's word. I got some dro
Of
from hydroponic,
course.
but yeah, ours was sensimilla. Ooh, you knew you were getting something good.
Yeah. See, up north, I think we just called that the killer. It
The
would
killer.
be
There you
yeah.
go.
Oh yeah. Ryan's got the killer tonight. Oh, he's got the killer. We gotta get over there. And yeah, that just meant yeah, there probably weren't any seeds in it, and it just you kind of knew what it meant, but it could be I don't know. It was one of 1,000 different strains though. The strains were well past what we knew.
Oh
And
yeah, there
maybe
were.
the
You
Cali
would
weed.
you would hear every once in a while somebody talk about Acapulco Gold. Never came across my dealer, but you heard things.
Right.
Ooh, I got some Acapulco Gold a couple weeks ago, or Maui Wowie. That's one people would talk about.
Classics.
Again, never came across. Uh, I did spend 6 months in Colorado tracking down some Maui Wowie because you hear a shop had it, then it'd be gone.
Uh-huh.
And it was just rarely around, but we got a hold of some. It's good, but it was more about the chase and the finally,
Sure.
one of those generational strains. I tracked some down. I got some. Oh, it's so good.
Nice. I think Maui Wowie played a big role in the first movie we watched on here, right? Wasn't that what they were
It was
smoking in
definitely
half
it
baked?
was definitely mentioned. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely mentioned. Uh, and
Sorry,
that was
I
the
coughed a
joke
little.
in Up in Smoke. Uh, or the joke in Up in Smoke was taken from one of their albums where they were smoking a big fat joint, and he said, "What is this shit?" He goes, "Well, it's mostly Maui Wowie, but it's got a little Labrador in it.
Oh yeah,
My dog
a
ate my
Labrador.
stash."
That joke was funnier than anything that was in the movie that we're about to talk about.
We're not supposed to say that yet, are
Okay,
we?
sorry. I don't
Are we
know.
supposed? I don't know. Are we supposed to drop it out there? But we
Are
did.
there rules? I don't know.
Yeah. So I guess it's time to watch Still Sucking.
Let's do it. Oh, now you mean Still Smoking, the
Yeah.
greatest.
No. Still Smoking. Sorry, that was
I,
a. Before we do though,
yes,
did you have any knowledge of this movie? Had you ever seen it?
I had never seen it. The only knowledge I had of it was from listening to you and Jeff mention that it wasn't very good. And I will say that I think I liked it. Like I was bracing myself for it. I was like, okay, this is the one because we had talked about not even watching it, and so I was like, going into it, I put it off until what I thought was the last minute. I watched it like I think last Tuesday or whenever we were originally going to do it, and I liked it more than I thought that I was going to. Like there were things that I liked about it, but I think I sent you a text like right after I was done, and I was like, yeah, I think we're done with Cheech and Chong for a bit. Like just um. it-
I had seen this movie exactly once.
okay.
I believe we went to the theater to see it, and
Well, if you went to the theater to see it, you were part of the domestic gross of $15,543,710.
which is
So
more than it should have made. Yeah, it's so disappointed when I left,
I bet.
and I might have appreciated it a tad more with this watch, but that is not to say it was an enjoyable prospect.
It didn't hurt that we watched it on the heels of whatever that last
Things are tough
movie
all
is. The
over.
Things Are Tough All Over. Yeah, I think that watching it after that only helped it. Had we watched this like right, had we gone Up in Smoke to Still Smoking,
Oh
it would have been too bad. I like
no,
couldn't have been done.
no.
Too much of a drop. But excuse me, going in the order that they came out, it feels like a natural progression. It's like it, and you could tell. I think the rift had started between them. I don't know. We'll talk about it as the movie goes, but
It felt lazy.
yes,
That's I have very few
very
notes here,
very lazy.
almost no notes,
Nice.
but lazy. There's three more words that we will cover at the end, but the first one was definitely lazy. Oh my god.
To quote Jim Cornette, lazy booking.
Lazy writing,
Yes.
lazy everything.
So, Burt Reynolds. I think
That
one of the funniest joke in the movie to me was how they pronounced Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds and Dolly
In
Parton.
Dolly Parton, yes, Mr. Burt Reynolds in Dolly Parton,
Mr.
and yeah,
Burt and Mr. Dolly.
I mean, so that the one joke that plays throughout the entire first 25 minutes or so of the film, maybe longer, is that Cheech and Chong are invited to a Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton movie marathon or film festival in Amsterdam. Why such a thing is happening, who knows? But they're invited there. Uh, Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton don't show up, and from the time that they get off the airplane, which we're seeing right now, everybody just thinks that Cheech is Burt Reynolds, and I mean they don't think that Chong is Dolly Parton, but they everybody just assumes somehow because of the mustache that he is Burt Reynolds, and
And
it's a
nobody knows who
funny
Cheech and
gag,
Chong are.
right? Nobody knows who they are, even though they were invited to the
Although
festival,
he's not really sure why they were invited
right?
or how they got any perks. He is so confused about everything. But
Yes, I
yeah,
did.
this was by far the funniest part of the movie
Yeah.
is Mr. Bird and Miss Dolly Parton. By the way, we should mention on a sad note, Carl Dean passed away this week.
Uh,
Dolly
I'm gonna.
Parton's husband.
Oh,
They had been married for over 60 years.
oh no.
He lived a very private life.
I guess so. I so private that I didn't know his name until
Eh,
just now.
I forget what he did. He owned a business. He was lumber or some sort of building trade, but he like sold. He didn't build, as I remember. I could be
Hmm.
totally wrong on this because not the biggest Carl Dean fan, but just had no interest in being in the public eye. Didn't want to be seen. Fully supportive of his wife. Uh,
I mean, how could he not be? His wife, Dolly Parton, is one of the good ones.
oh God, she's amazing. She's
Yeah.
queen, and I will be so sad
The
she
fact that
passes.
she pays for college for everyone who works at Dolly World, whatever that's called,
Dollywood.
Dollywood.
Any kid can sign up for a program. She sends them, I think, 12 books a year. Like she
Yeah,
spends millions of dollars every year on books
that
to
is
give
awesome.
away to kids. It's a wonderful, wonderful woman.
I tell you, if more kids read more books, maybe the world would be a better place.
We haven't worked in 4 years. That's one of those things you could lose if you weren't paying attention. But it speaks a lot, I think, to the quality of this movie
Uh-huh.
because they don't seem to have a lot of chemistry.
They don't. Yeah, and I was touching on that before we started. You can just something feels off with them, especially when you watch the movies as rapidly as this. I mean, even in the last one, they still seemed pretty close. Obviously, in the first couple, the bond between them is very apparent. But this one, I don't know. They're just kind of there. But yeah, here comes they pull up to the hotel. Everybody's expecting Dolly Parton and Mr. Burt Reynolds, and they see Cheech and they still think it's him. Do people in Amsterdam maybe not have mustaches? That...
I've never thought about it.
I mean, that seemed to be the whole thing. Is that just because he's got this mustache, this big mustache? And I spent the whole movie wondering if Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton were ever going to show up. It didn't seem like they would.
And already we have Cheech creeping on a girl.
Yes. And what's the girl who's in all the other movies? Her name is
Donna.
yeah, Donna. The only message of Donna in this movie is at the very beginning of the movie. He's like, the whole exposition for the plot is his voicemail machine. You know, he says, "If you're calling me, we went to this marathon," and then he said something at the end like, And if you're Donna, I forget what the exact line was, but he has some like special message to Donna. That's it. We don't see her. Yeah, see, everybody's asking him all these Burt Reynolds questions. A country full of Burt Reynolds fans who just can't tell Cheech Marin from Burt Reynolds. It could happen.
I don't think they know who Burt Reynolds is so much as the idea of Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
They love the idea of Burt Reynolds.
Well, he must have been one of the most famous celebrities at the time, though, right? 1983.
He was huge.
Yeah. When did let's see, Smokey and the Bandit? Smokey and the Bandit was 77. So yeah, six years after that.
And he was big before Smokey and the Bandit, and he is still riding high at this point.
Mm-hmm. And what was the connection with Dolly Parton, though? I didn't even think to look that up.
Best whorehouse.
Ah, okay.
Best
Never
little
saw it.
whorehouse in Texas, which was a play, a musical that was made about the chicken ranch, basically, out in LaGrange, which was a real place.
Mm-hmm.
And so they made a movie out of the musical starring Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton. It was a huge hit.
I did chuckle during this scene with the caviar. They are just like indulging in all of this rich stuff, and he's like, "Something's wrong with this caviar. It's fishy. Can you send up some? How much? I don't know, a pound." And then they get all the fancy electronic equipment delivered. I think there was a camcorder in there, record player.
While the guy's trying to explain to him how broke the festival is.
Right. And they go to the yeah, this was an okay gag too. There were some in the beginning of the movie. There were some okay parts here. I like them ordering, having no idea what they're getting into with edibles, and just ordering a huge amount of ridiculous sounding things. Yeah, you get your shake.
I mean, it all sounds delicious.
It does. There's some all right visual gags coming here. For anyone who's ever eaten too many edibles before.
I love how a salad is just a bunch of pot leaves.
Right. Which, by the way, I'm not a scientist, but just eating raw pot leaves would do nothing to you, right? Would
Right.
you get high at all?
No, it has to. You got to decarbonize the THC.
Right. Have you been to Amsterdam?
I have been in the airport. I have never been outside of the airport in Amsterdam, but I had a layover there.
We should go.
Did not get to
Find a way to
experience
go.
any of the fun parts of Amsterdam.
I was in Amsterdam. Oh God, 20 years ago. Well before 18 to 20 years ago, something like that. But well before any sort of legalization happened in any state in the United States, and it felt so friggin' weird and so cool. And it was the first time that I had ever seen it was the first time I learned about strains, I think. Like really learned about them, because in the cafe that I went to, I probably went to several, but it's all a blur. But in the cafe that we went to, they had a menu, like an actual paper menu, and it was divided. There was on one half it was sativa, and on the other half it was indica. Those words meant nothing to me, and they meant nothing, I think, to most American-speaking tourists, because it described what each one said. It said sativa. It was like, this will get you high, like a heady high feeling. Indica, This will get you stoned. And we picked, I can't remember what we ordered first. We smoked a couple joints. Maybe we started with sativa. But then I remember it went in order of strength. Lowest strength, highest strength. And the bottom one of the indica was like, this will turn you into a rock. Like, if you get this, you will. So, of course, we got that. And that's the scene that we were just on. At one point, like, I think Cheech just like falls asleep in his soup and is drooling. I'm pretty sure that was what it looked like. But yeah, when you go from, I mean, all the weed at the time was like what we were in the States was like we were talking about at the beginning. So it was literally just going from just smoking the occasional killer to real weed. Big jump. Oh, this gag right here where so Cheech makes a couple of jokes about how he's too handsome in the movie, of course, and how he's gonna cut up his face so that other men can have a shot at women. And there he was just having like a weed fantasy where he was giving a speech and had these cuts all over his face, but of course he was still the sexiest. Cheech really, in all of these movies, just likes pointing at how attractive he is.
He's a good-looking man.
He is a good-looking man. They both are. After seeing them for so long as old men, doing this little rewatch or first watch or whatever that we've been doing of all these, it was like, yeah, these guys were good-looking dudes, and they had like rock star bods.
I remember this distinctly from my first watch.
The Star Wars thing here.
E.T.
E.T. Right.
E.T. Eddie Torres,
Oh, yeah.
the extra testicle.
Right. And just for context, this was a year after E.T. came out. So E.T. was still very, very much in the public mind. Yeah, here he is, Eddie Torres, the extra testicle. Just who came to Earth to sexually assault women.
He's definitely sexually assaulting the maid.
Yep. But she likes it.
Oh yeah, she wants it. And then Chong's trying to film it, and Cheech won't let him. The Chong lets the boss in.
This famous
And that was
Drew
funny.
Barrymore scene. It was, yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. Definitely some laughs to be had in the first half.
Some.
Some.
It's not torture. Let's be fair. It was not torture to watch, but
The last half hour is kind of torturous.
yeah, the longer it goes, the and less fun, and or some things that did not age well.
Right. Yeah, there's the E.T. spoof, and there's a Star Wars spoof a little later on. I did read that a lot of the extras in the movie didn't know that they were in a movie. Like, they were just filming a lot of things on the street, and I think even in this scene here, I saw way too much animal sex in this movie. I forgot about that. So right now the housekeeper is involved in a threesome with Cheech and Chong, and it just keeps on cutting to animals fucking.
Which I get why they do that.
Yeah.
Because then we don't have to shoot a love scene.
Right.
Which on the one hand is semi sort of kind of creative, but it's also lazy.
Yes, it is.
It's very lazy. We're fucking. Just show pictures of animals fucking. Stock
Right.
footage. It's cheap and it's easy. And that defines this movie.
Cheap and easy.
Cheap and easy. With a vacation to Amsterdam,
Right.
which,
And no cameos in this one. Like no celebrity cameos.
no, because that wouldn't have been cheap.
Right. There was no. Speaking of cheap, there was no information available about the budget for the film. Just the
Uh,
box office.
Cheech
So
is imagining that he's doing this act.
yeah, see, like the people who were in the crowd at all of their performances, I don't know that they knew that they were in a movie.
They
There were
probably
no
did.
releases signed or anything like that. These were just people who thought they were seeing Cheech and Chong perform, and maybe some of them never even found out that they were in this movie. Who knows?
But all these bits are just recycled stuff they used to do.
Right.
Uh, which you could clearly see this was the progenitor, I suppose, of Red in Cheech and Chong's next movie. This is where Red came from, was this
Uh,
guy. Except now we're seeing him many years later doing the same old bit.
and Blind Melon Chitlins. I did find out that the band Blind Melon got their name from that character.
Right. From, again, go back to the
The
early
older, right?
albums.
Yes.
And it definitely plays a lot better on the record than it does with the blackface,
Yeah,
I have to say.
I believe it.
Even on the record, like, it was a lot funnier
And you know,
way back when I didn't realize quite how wrong it kind of sort of was.
I thought for the first minute or so of this when I was watching it that this was just an old black man. I did not realize at first that it was Tommy Chong in blackface. Maybe that's my own naivete because we've lived in a world without blackface for a couple of decades now. But I was like, oh, who is this? Oh, it's Chong. And you know, not a bad character, just horribly offensive, but
So
I bet
it's
it was funnier. I bet it was funnier on the album.
yeah, it's funnier on the album
Yeah.
because it's just a guy singing a song in an accent. So yeah, that was very much kind of a shame. There was a sweet little line in there though when they're at the club and they're looking around and it's not quite a strip club, but there was the reference to this reminds me of where we got started, which was in fact a strip club in Canada.
Mhm. Speaking of things that have aged badly, though, this you know, fags in outer space, queer wars is not great. This is where this might have been the first part in the movie where like I just didn't laugh at all. Did this play well back in the day though?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
it
I
was.
bet. No, there was a time.
It wasn't meant to be offensive. I think it definitely plays that way, and I'm not saying it doesn't come across that way now,
Right.
and it shouldn't have then. But But
Right.
it was not intended to be offensive at the time. It was more almost a celebration
Really.
in a way. Yeah. Yeah, because
It
Pride
wasn't
was
punching
just
down.
becoming a thing.
Mm.
And the fact that you could A, pretend to be gay, but B, do it in a way that was humorous,
Uh-huh.
uh, while at the same time it was not denigrating. I
Okay.
mean, it's playing on stereotypes, which is lazy.
Yeah.
Uh, so again, I don't want to say it was like a celebration of gay pride, uh, but it never felt offensive. Having grown up in an environment that was very offensive as far as homosexuals,
Mm.
just the day to day, everyday words being thrown and such a violence. Uh, I don't want to get into that, but no, this felt different. So I'm glad we have moved on from that, and it does not play well in retrospect.
Right.
But it never felt mean.
I'm trying to. Did they do a fake out ending here? I'm trying to remember. I see the credits on the screen, and I can't remember exactly what was going on there.
And kind of a dream sequence, uh, imagining like what can we do if we're going to do a show for these people? What can we do?
Oh, right.
And so they're rattling around ideas for a show that they might do as an excuse to do some old gags that they didn't have to write anything for because
Because they
these were
were old gags.
existing gags that they
Yeah.
had in the pocket, cheap and easy.
Lazy.
And I don't know, you can almost look at it as, hey, it's our greatest hits, but they're not their greatest hits, and they are not doing their greatest work.
This was okay. This was not one of the funnier parts, but after following on the following up the last couple sketches, I thought this one was okay. Cheech and Rasta face goes on a little too long. Yeah, this guy. And again, Tommy Chong. This was another case of like Tommy Chong kind of proving that he could have been an actor. Like he could have been like a dramatic actor. I think he had range. That every time he wears like a disguise in any of these movies, I think it's pretty decent.
Oh yeah, yeah. His character work was always really good.
Yeah, and he kind of disappeared. There's a couple times, like I think even in this one when he first came out, like where it takes me a couple of seconds to be like, oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's Chong. Yeah, so if I have it right, he is pretending to be a cop who's undercover, but he's not really a cop. He's a security guard. What was your least favorite sketch?
God, I don't know. So much of it didn't stick with me.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a scene coming up where they pretend to be dogs, and that is actually where the title "Still Smokin" comes from, because they mentioned that it comes from a particularly pungent feces that's still smoking. in the sketch where they act like dogs.
Yes.
So it's not even a direct reference to smoking marijuana.
Well, it's a double entendre.
It is.
Back to Dopathon.
And Harry Palm's the chronic masturbator.
Which back at the time, again, funny stuff
Well,
to a lot of people.
there were probably kids whose parents were still telling them that would happen to them.
And you get to drop a lot of those slang, fist of fury.
Hmm. This was promising. They wrestle an invisible man by stretching his penis all around the ring.
It makes you wonder if this is where some of the when they started doing this on some of the indie shows like Kenny Omega used to do.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Would they admit that this is where they got the idea?
They do. You said would they or they do admit that?
I said, would they?
Oh, would they? Yeah, it's a good question. But there's some fun physical comedy in this one. Relies a little too much on the penis or testicular stretching, whatever it is that they're doing.
I did giggle at the name Itchy Scratchy.
Yeah, how can you not? I also, of course, made me think of Itchy and Scratchy from The Simpsons.
Bite, 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 fight, fight, fight.
Right before I jumped in the show, we watched an episode where they find the real original creator of Scratchy or Itchy, whichever the mouse is. He's a old homeless man who then sues for $800 million and buys a golden house.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, this went on too long.
And that's the issue with with all of this. It's like every single sketch goes on too long. And some people say that about sketch comedy in general. People have said, for decades have said that the problem with Saturday Night Live is that all the sketches go on too long. I don't think that's true. I think that good sketches go on for exactly as long as they should.
Yes.
But when a sketch is not good, it feels like it lasts forever. And there was a lot of that in this for me. I don't even remember this one that we're looking at right now. That's the is that the Burt Reynolds film festival runner?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. We're out of money because of all the caviar that you ate and the camcorder. He's trying to jump out the window.
He's ruined. They give him an expensive watch
Yeah.
that they bought with his money.
I wonder if Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton ever saw this movie.
God, I hope not, because Burt Reynolds does not have much of a sense of humor
No.
in his later years. He was not a pleasant man.
I've heard that as well. I'm just trying to find out if they've ever commented publicly on it. No. So if they have seen it, they have chosen to say nothing. So yeah, so here they are at the festival.
And I'm sorry, but this guy always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Which was a bit that was also used in one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies back in the day, the Hollywood Nights.
Uh-huh.
And there's a scene where Robert Wall and this other guy pull a stunt, and he's a one-armed violinist, and at the end of his thing, he flips it down and sticks his finger out and grabs the bow, and a guy in the front row just starts yelling out, "He grabbed it with his dick!" over and over again, and the repetition makes it funnier.
So I think we might have mentioned this, but the whole movie was filmed on location in Amsterdam.
Of course,
So you know, you'd have to assume that they really were high. I mean, they were probably high in their other movies too, but they were legally high in this one.
like this movie was an excuse to go to Amsterdam and get high.
Yeah.
And that is exactly why you're getting what you're getting.
This is also this was their first movie that didn't have any lowriders in it that they made. Probably because there's no lowriders in Amsterdam.
This might have been my favorite sketch of the bits they do, just because it has an actual story, it has an actual ending. Uh, it's not offensive.
How does this one end?
The guy dies, and he starts to feel bad about it. Like, man, I didn't mean for you to die. I'm sorry. And when he gets to where he's almost crying, the guy sits up and goes, "I got you, you dumb fucker," or
That's
something
right.
along those lines.
It was around this point in the movie where my interest started waning in and out pretty heavily. To be honest. But I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one sketch again since it has your stamp of approval.
I mean, it's not that good.
All right, I'm not.
It is. It was my favorite part, probably. Kind of hard to say.
And you know, even though there is no information available about what the budget was, it what I'm seeing does say that the film was profitable with its $15.5 million box office take, because the
I,
movie had to have cost significantly less than 15 million.
yeah,
Couple of
yeah.
plane tickets to Amsterdam, you know,
Film
uh,
crew, very small
right.
film crew. Uh,
No other actors or anybody of any real note.
no sets.
Nope. Yeah, they might have paid. They might have done all this for $1 million. I don't know. It's hard for me to really know what things cost back then as opposed to now, but it's quite possible that this was a $2 or $3 million movie.
Yeah, this was a skit off the Wedding album, rewritten And definitely, the version on the wedding album ends in a way that is just in again, I get what they were doing, but it's hard to listen to.
Hmm.
They're making fun of a racist, but to do that, you have to be racist, sort of, and it's a really weird line that I don't know. It's uncomfortable sometimes for me
And
to listen.
here's the dog sketch. Speaking of uncomfortable, I this whole sketch made me uncomfortable. I don't know exactly why. Like
I I like this. I like
yeah,
this,
it was
and
cute at first. It's cute, but I think it's just one of the ones that goes on too long.
it does.
I mean, the very beginning when they're like doing the thing that dogs do, where they go around in circles and smell each other's butts, I thought was cute.
The version on the album, because they had a couple different versions of this. These were kind of like recurring
Uh,
dogs, and I forget which album it is on. The one on the album's a little funnier, I think.
I believe it.
The visuals on that are pretty damn good. Like he does a very good job of showing you what it looks like when a dog takes a big dump.
On the album?
No, because you can't see it on the album.
Okay, I didn't think so. So just in here. Gotcha. Is that the end of the movie?
And that is the end of this movie. Yes.
Okay. I
Yeah,
didn't.
I
I
forget what the runtime is, but it is not.
it was about an hour 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah, it's not particularly long, and
But it's still a little bit too long. So
they had to have spent a little money on that Prince song.
yeah. Okay, so that's where half the budget went. Plane tickets to Amsterdam, Prince song, and some electronics equipment and caviar. That's about it. So I'm gonna let you go first. Where do you rank this one?
Bottom, I. It's hard, uh, because I still don't like Things Are Tough All Over, but it was a movie.
Yes.
It had a story, not a particularly good one, but they were trying.
Hmm.
There was a lot of effort put into that movie. Uh, Things about it didn't work for me, uh, but yeah, so I'm gonna. But they tried.
Sure.
They executed poorly, but they tried. This they weren't trying. This was a, and sometimes that's okay. Taken is what it is. It's not bad for what it is, but it should have been better. I wanted more than this.
I agree completely with where you ranked it. For the same reasons. Uh, you know, didn't really like Things Are Tough All Over, but it was a movie, like you said. And when you say that this wasn't bad for what it was, I'm not sure that I'm not positive that I could be that nice. I mean, yeah, like if what this was an excuse for a couple of guys who loved weed to go to Amsterdam and write it off as a business trip and make a little bit of money by using recycled jokes and really making the laziest film possible, then okay, then yes.
Yes, and
For
that's what it
that,
was.
yeah, if that's okay, then I agree that for some kind of weird vanity project that I hope they had a lot of fun making, then it wasn't bad. And I bet they did. like, even though I said that something was off with the chemistry with them and stuff, like, I'm sure that it was still fun. I bet they did have. I mean, who knows how long it took to even film this? Let's see if I can find that information.
This is more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, it couldn't have been. Let's see. Specific details regarding the total filming. Yeah, no, doesn't seem to have that information. Nah.
Now, it was, again, lazy, but I think the problem with a lot of the humor as well was some of that worked 10 years before this
Mhm.
much better than it did when they released it.
Yeah, there was a pretty big gulf culturally between early 70s and early 80s.
In ways that what they released then doesn't play well now.
Right.
I don't think it was as funny then as it would have been 10 years earlier when they had written that stuff and it was considered funny. Uh,
I believe that. Um, but yeah, I'm good to be done. Like this was going into this the only Cheech and Chong anything that I had ever seen. When I say going into this, I mean this thing that we've been doing now for a couple of months. The only I had once seen Up in Smoke like 20 years ago. So this was all basically all new to me. It was, Up in Smoke. Okay, I remember this. But then every other movie was brand new. And so I feel like I have gotten a thorough education on Cheech and Chong and what they're about. And I think that they were great. But watching just the law of diminishing returns from each film, it's
yeah.
striking. It's
Well,
and
no, let's not say
I,
that.
right because Nice Dreams
Yeah, Up in
might be the
Smoke is
highlight.
awesome.
Right.
Next movie is good. Nice Dreams is awesome again.
Uh,
Very different, but
but then we fall
I
apart.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, they did something different than they did with Up in Smoke, but it was still really good and really funny, and you could tell they put a lot of effort in it. And
Yes.
I have a hard time picking between those two because I love them both so much.
Between Up and Smoke and Nice Dreams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love them both so much for very different reasons.
Hmm.
Uh, that I don't even think it's fair to pick. Uh, and then boom, and then it goes down.
Right.
Uh,
I mean,
way down.
if you could only send one of them, like if you were, if NASA decided to make you in charge of compiling all the the best culturally relevant things to send out into space for the aliens to see so they could learn about us, and you could only pick one Cheech and Chong movie, and you had to pick one Cheech and Chong movie. I don't know why NASA's doing this, but they're making you pick one. Which one would it be though? Between
Up
Nice
in
Dreams,
Smoke,
Up in Smoke, yeah,
because it is for me. It is the quintessential stoner movie.
right,
You said, "What is a stoner movie?" I would say, "Watch this."
yeah,
And from here, everything else grows.
and
Uh,
yeah. I mean, I remember, in fact, when we first started talking about doing this, I had said, let's watch a Cheech and Chong movie. And I think I suggested Nice Dreams just off the top of my head because I had remembered seeing Up in Smoke a long time ago and I wanted to watch one that I hadn't seen yet. And you were like, no, if we're going to do Cheech and Chong, we have to start with Up in Smoke.
yeah,
So,
because things had come before Up in Smoke,
mm,
but like Up in Smoke was then okay. Let's take this and let's make the thing, and then everything after that, there's good stuff, but like that's the nexus, that's the centerpiece, and from there everything else grew.
yeah,
Uh, like what we had before it turned into Up in Smoke, and then everything came from Up in Smoke. It is the center of the stoner movie universe, in my humble opinion.
I'm trying to think of what, if anything, like was the next Up in Smoke as far as sort of like reinventing stoner movies for the next generation. The one that comes to my mind is Friday.
And I'm going to reveal a huge hole in my oeuvre, you might say. For reasons I cannot utterly explain, because I've told myself a million times, you need to watch this movie and just get that black spot cleared away. Uh, I haven't. I've never seen Fridays, and it's
Okay.
odd my thing of I have to see this
No,
movie because yes, I understand that it is
you just made
that.
my night. I'm very happy about that. I think we have to watch Friday, and I really want to try. And I know that we have a hard time when it comes to syncing and watching these movies together before we. But I would love to try and see you see Friday for the first time. That's because Friday is if if I was putting together that very necessary NASA package to show the aliens, and I could only pick one stoner movie. And right now, you're gonna think I'm a lunatic, but after you see Friday, you might think I'm not as
No,
crazy.
no.
I think even considering Up in Smoke, I think I might send Friday. Um, it is. I don't want to say too much more about it, but it is about weed, like in a way that no other Cheech and Chong movie other than Up in Smoke really is. Like
Hmm.
it is about weed and why weed is good to certain people, and like it is just like the movie doesn't exist without. Like if you take weed out of Friday, you don't have a movie. You've got a very boring
Yeah, I feel
movie
like
about
it was
something.
almost like it was that generation's Up in Smoke. It
It
was like
was, yeah,
this
and
is it.
that's right.
This is up. This is where all of that sense Up in Smoke turned
Yep.
into this, and it is the new Nexus.
Yes, it is, and
Uh,
because there's lines from Friday that I still think of once a day, probably. Like there are certain just moments in that movie that just
that
are
I am
part of who I
familiar with, but
am.
didn't
Right.
often. Sometimes I find out later. Oh, that's from Friday. I didn't know where that was
Uh,
from, but I had heard it over and over and over again.
I I I feel like when we watch that together, that's going to happen a lot. You're going to go, oh, that's where that's from, or oh, that's the context of this line that I've heard that I knew was from Friday. I didn't know the context. That's going to be fun. Next week,
By the way, here's something odd about this pipe that I forgot to
yes,
mention earlier. I have come to the conclusion this is a left-handed pipe.
because of where the carb is,
It is
or
uncomfortable to hold and use the carb with your left hand. Which most pipes are made to be held in a left hand, I feel like this is really not.
yeah,
It fits so much better in a right hand.
huh?
Everything about it feels better here.
Did
But
you
I have a hard time working a lighter with my left hand.
did you get that from Ned Flanders' Leftorium?
It was a gift.
Yeah.
It was a gift, so I'm not sure where it came from. But
Was the gift giver a lefty?
God, I am really bad at noticing that, but I don't think
Same.
so.
Yeah. You don't have a file of all the lefties in your life? Just a list.
My ADHD, I am so not observant
Yeah.
about things.
Same.
I frustrate my wife very muchly on stuff like that. Do you have a beard? I don't know. I only talked to him for 20 minutes.
I have oftentimes said that I really hope that I'm never at a bank when it gets robbed, or like that I never see a murder live, because I would make the world's worst eyewitness. They'd be like, "Can you describe the robber? They had a gun. Was it a man or a woman? A woman? Yeah, I don't know. Black or white? I don't know. Short or tall? I don't know. I
I,
don't see those things. I just
I'd get gender.
yeah. I
I
mean,
could,
it, I don't think I'd even be. I just things happen around me and I just don't notice. I don't know. I mean, sure, I'll get gender. If it's an attractive woman, I might
That's the thing. There's
notice.
got to be something like if the guy is freakishly something.
Right. Yes. If it's a
uh,
giant of a man, or if it's literally like a little person, or if it's a gorgeous woman or a
He
gorgeous
had this
guy.
huge, he had
Yeah.
this huge mole on the side of his face, like Lemmy. Uh, but other than that, yeah,
I mean, where it comes, where I get into a lot of trouble is just if somebody's just kind of average looking. I just don't see average. I don't see
nah,
average looking people. Sorry. Sorry if anybody average looking ever stumbles upon this and is offended, but
it's not even after. Like again, it's got to be freakish.
yes.
Uh, did did I see somebody? Uh, I can walk. I have when I was walking like 2 to 4 miles a day. I'd
Mhm.
walk down the same sidewalk every day. I know I saw a lot of the same people over and over again.
Right.
I have no idea if I did.
Uh-huh.
Uh, or did I see people? Like how many people are on the thing? I don't know. Like I didn't run into them. I
Right.
pay enough attention. I see you with part of my brain, but it does not go into the short-term memory processing area. And it's just, I don't know. Not enough that I ran into people. Uh,
I have actually been working on neuroplasticity lately because my brain is just not ideal with memory and things like that. So I've started doing some little exercises basically in my brain, but I'm taking some supplements. So I take a lion's mane, mushrooms, and some sort of magnesium and omega 3s. So I'll let you know. Maybe we'll do this show in like 2 weeks, and I'll be like able to tell you about what the gas station attendant that I saw 6 months ago looked like. I'll keep everybody posted on how well my brain grows.
I
But I am
never I never watched it. There was a show for a long time where the guy in it, his dad was a detective, and when he was a kid, his dad would like grill him all the time about everything.
uh
So he trained himself to to see everything around him and take it in and process it. So you could ask him later. He had like a photographic memory about stuff.
was that
Uh,
Dexter?
no, but
Oh,
it was like there was him and his buddy, and they pretended to be. He was a psychic, I think, a psychic
Monk?
detective, but no, because he was young. He was a
Oh,
young guy.
young monk?
Monk had OCD, but yeah, he pretended to be psychic, but he was really just real fucking observant. It was called Psych. That was it. It was
Okay.
called Psych. Yeah, that was it.
I don't think I ever saw that, but I wasn't either the lead character or somebody on that show the same actor who played Bud from the Cosby Show?
I don't know.
Was it a black actor?
Yes.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that's who that was. Then, do you
No
remember the
shit.
Cos? Did you
I
watch the
I
Cosby Show?
remember Bud. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, Rudy's friend
Bud.
Bud. Yeah, I'm almost certain that that was him because I
Well, I didn't
remember.
know that. That
Uh,
I might have watched the show if I'd have known that.
Let me see if that's if I just made that up.
It's one of those I would see the trailers for the show and it always like, yeah, that's probably funny, but I ain't got time.
Uh,
I just stopped watching that kind of TV.
Yep, it was him. Yes, the actor who played Bud on the Cosby Show was Dion Richmond. He also appeared in Psych.
I think the last one of those was Scrubs. I would watch Scrubs and then I was just like, it's funny, but I ain't got time for this anymore.
Scrubs. Scrubs was one of those shows. I didn't watch a lot of it, but it was like one of those shows that was a comedy. But then there would just be episodes that were like heart
Ow, that hurt.
wrenching. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I've always kind of feel like a little betrayed by shows like that. Like,
A
listen,
very
I'm tuning
special
in to
episode.
yeah, too many special episodes. Just make me laugh. Give me the funny episodes. I don't want special. And that was the thing with Seinfeld when when Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld sat down to make Seinfeld, it was like the tail end of the 80s when they started production. And so every show back then was like hugging and learning and special episodes. And the rule that Larry David came up with right off the bat was no lessons learned. He said there'll be no hugging, there will be no lessons learned, no special episodes. Like they were
And
just going against all the things at the time.
there never ever was.
No, never. He learned. In fact, and that philosophy continued after Seinfeld into Curb Your Enthusiasm, and the very last episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, after the show went on for 20 years, off and on, but the series finale was called No Lessons Learned, because
Nice.
he successfully for 30 years made television comedy without ever teaching anybody anything. So we could do a whole podcast on Larry David. Speaking of that, so next week I kind of wanted to do like a freeform thing next week where we don't watch a movie. If you're still
Yeah,
down.
yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
yeah.
I actually have some weed news. We can talk about what's going on in the world of weed and
Yes. And you told me that you're thinking about buying a certain thing, so let's save that for then as well. Maybe by then you will have even bought it.
yeah, because I may have decided. I'm
No,
I'm
nice.
very very close.
And there's a big thing going on in Texas right now. Maybe there'll be news to talk about as far as that goes next week. But they are looking at whether or not to reverse the hemp bill, which would make the stuff that we can buy legally in Texas no longer legal. And we touched on this, I think, a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's
Might be
gonna
happening.
be.
Yeah. And if that happens, then I'm just gonna have to do every couple of months. I'm gonna have to drive out to Colorado, or where is the
New
nearest?
Mexico.
New Mexico. Okay.
New Mexico now.
New
That's
Mexico.
fairly recent, but I believe they do have dispensaries now. They were medical only for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and
No, you're absolutely right. New Mexico is what's the word?
rec
Yes, recreation.
recreational.
So yeah, we'll do a free form sort of news week next week, and then 2 weeks from tonight, I think we should do Friday.
Friday, or I want you to think about this.
Okay.
We can legally do a live watch
Oh yeah.
of Reefer Madness.
Yeah. And then I could
So
finally know what Sublime was sampling.
we could see one of the most notorious of the 1930s, I believe, propaganda, anti-cannabis propaganda films that shows the evils of that demon
Of course.
reefer.
The evils of the demon. If we're going to do that, I think the more the merrier if we're going to watch that live.
Yeah, I will definitely invite a few other people.
All right.
We will see who else we might be able to con into coming in for that one, and perhaps fill the room up
Yeah.
a little bit.
So yeah, let's look into doing that then, and then we could do Friday, and then we could get back to Key and Peele, not Key and Peele, the White Castle gang. What are their names?
Oh, is there another
Harold and Kumar.
Harold and Kumar?
Yeah, because we only watched the Christmas one. We had talked about doing Escape from Guantanamo Bay because I don't think any of us had ever seen it
Oh,
before. I know I've never seen it. And then
I don't think I have either, so that might be fun.
nice.
Well, let's not
then-
plan any further than that.
I was gonna say when we're good and ready, we'll get back to Cheech and
Yeah.
Chong.
No,
the whole reason why I'm planning this far out is because I just wanted to delay the Coruscant brothers for as long as we possibly can.
I don't think we're going to watch Corsican Brothers because it is not in any way stoner.
Oh, well then what would be I thought you said there was one more Cheech and Chong movie for us to do.
Oh no, the very recent one, which is called Cheech and Chong's last movie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I'm in no hurry for that.
Have you seen it?
No,
Okay.
because I was in no hurry. I was just like,
Yeah.
Yeah. One of these days, and I think let's take a little vacation from Cheech and Chong
Yes.
for a while,
I agree.
uh,
And
because that's going to be my best opportunity with it. If I don't want to go in now with the sour taste in my mouth.
no. And I'm glad that that's the one that you meant though, because I really, as much as I might not be excited about the one that we're talking about, I really just didn't want to see Korskin Brothers. That looks like there's nothing about it that it's like a spoof of a Dumas
Yeah,
book, right?
very
Like,
much.
yeah. I mean,
By
nothing
two
against
two
Dumas,
guys
just
known for
Dumas and
stoner
Cheech and
movies.
Chong. Like, right? Yeah. No, it's very odd to me in a bad way.
I was by myself a lot in Romania, and I was very very starved for anything in English, and I didn't have a book.
Uh,
And I found a bookstore, and one of the only English language books that I could find in that bookstore that was at all appealing was an Alexander Dumas novel. And even under those circumstances, oh my God, was it hard to read.
was it the Count of Monte Cristo or what was it?
I don't remember. I think it was The Count of Monte Cristo,
Yeah.
but Jesus Christ, that was so hard to read.
Right. And I
And
mean, great,
I'm
great
a
story.
reader,
Same, but
but
the classics just aren't written in the same page turning way that books are mostly written. For the past
I don't know. I've
50
read some
years.
really good classics, but just a few. Dumas does not do it for me, and
Mhm.
Dickens.
Most of the classics that I read as I was an English grad student, so I read a lot of those books in college, you know, so we talked about them as we're reading them in groups, and that is why I enjoyed them for the most part. I don't think that on my own, certainly not without the education I've had, I don't think that I could have ever picked up Great Expectations just on my own and gotten through it. Like I probably would have made it 50 pages, 20 pages, and had enough. So I think that a lot of those books are meant to be dissected with a group.
In small bits over a long period of time,
Right.
because that's how they were written.
Yeah, they were
Like
published. They were serialized.
it
Every
was a
chapter, I think.
it's a fucking soap opera.
Right.
It's a soap opera, and and he's dragging this shit out
Yep.
because get paid every time you turn in a chapter. Just keep them coming, baby. Keep
That's
them
right.
coming.
That's why in Moby Dick, Melville just put like there's a chapter in there where all it is just the names of different types of whales, and in paragraphs for every single whale, and it's because that was that was a monthly publication. So one month he was getting paid by the word. He was getting paid by the word.
That or he was on the spectrum,
Hmm.
and I wrote this really cool book about whales, but I'm going to info dump on you, motherfucker.
Right. Could have
And
been
we're
both.
going to have to explain some things about whales for you to understand what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
I see that I understand that. I know a lot about whales. Now you do
And now
too.
you do too, right? Yeah. This is a story of revenge and obsession. But first, you got to learn about whales, or else the revenge and the obsession just isn't going to hit hard enough.
When when I was writing a lot, I had so many people tell me, you don't need all of these parenthetical explanations of
Uh,
things. I'm like, yes, I do. You
right.
don't understand how my no, that's important, or you don't
Hmm.
know what I'm saying. Uh, so I get that. That's okay. I understand what Melville is doing.
Hmm.
He's on the spectrum, and you need
I,
to understand.
I do think some of it though is getting paid by the word. I think,
That's definitely Dickens.
yeah.
But I may be biased. God, A Tale of Two Cities broke me.
Uh,
Do not give
Great
that to high
opening
school
line though.
children.
Great opening line. That's all I remember.
That has been ruined by everything that happened after it.
Is
Uh,
that the one with Pip?
no, no, it's the one with the guy in the Bastille, and it, he substitutes himself
I'm thinking Great Expectations.
for this other guy so he can go marry the girl he's in love with. Uh, so I'll pretend to be him, and he'll escape.
Yeah.
Because that's how much I love her. No, I
Don't even
but
try it.
it's going to take this long to get there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I'm starting to feel the 2 hours of sleep that I got from my steroid
yeah, I
mania
think we should
yesterday.
call it a night.
Let's do
The
it.
official, I think the official line on Still Smoking is
Still sucking.
Still
That's
Sucking.
right.
No, I did not. I did not like this movie the second time. If you're a completist and you got nothing better to do, you might want to give it a watch just to kind of, mark it off in the list. But anything else, no.
Yeah.
Maybe with a bunch of friends and you can make fun of it.
If you have Paramount Plus and Pluto TV, you can watch it for free, it looks like. Other than that, you'd have to purchase it through Amazon Video or Apple TV. Do not purchase this movie. Even if
No,
you're
do
just
not purchase this movie.
don't do that.
Uh,
But if you are a completist and you have nothing else to do and you have Paramount Plus or Pluto, whatever Pluto is, I'm pretty sure we all have Pluto TV.
but like, just watch Up and Smoke again because you're gonna
Yeah.
have a better time. Watch Nice Dreams again. You're gonna have a better time.
Watch Things Are Tough All Over again. You're gonna have a better time, and that's not a good time, but it's better.
I don't know if I'm going that far, but
All right.
I give you my herpes.
Exactly. That one scene was better than anything in this. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if I can argue with that. I don't think
Yeah.
I can.
I mean, as soon as I said that, I don't know if I said it with very little conviction.
Yeah, go watch Nice Dreams again.
Yeah.
Funny stuff. Hamburger Man. And aside from that, change bong water at least once a week, preferably every day. We will see you at some point. Well, we'll see you next Tuesday. That's right.
Yeah.
See you next Tuesday.
Give us a like, hit subscribe, join us live sometime.
And
My
bye for
my
now,
plugs.
everybody.